My mother's secret betrayal nearly destroyed me, but my revenge was unstoppable. It started with a whisper, a secret kept behind closed doors, one that shattered the trust I thought we shared. I'm Rachel, and this is the story of how I turned pain into power, heartbreak into strength, and betrayal into the fuel for my comeback. They say a mother's love is unconditional, a bond that's unbreakable no matter what life throws your way. But what happens when that love turns into the very thing that breaks you? My name is Rachel, and the story I'm about to share is not easy to tell. It's raw, painful, and full of moments I wish I could forget, but I can't. Because that betrayal wasn't just a secret kept from me. It was a wound that nearly destroyed everything I held dear. It started quietly, like a shadow creeping into the edges of my life. At first, I didn't even realize something was wrong. There were little things. My mother's distracted looks, the late night phone calls she'd quickly end, and the way she seemed to avoid certain topics. I chalked it up to stress, to the usual struggles families face, but deep down a knot tightened in my stomach. A feeling that something was off, something she was hiding. The truth hit me like a freight train on a cold winter's night. I discovered that my mother had been living a double life, one full of lies and secrets that shattered every ounce of trust I had in her. She wasn't just hiding a secret. She was actively destroying the life I thought I had. The betrayal cut deeper than any wound I'd ever known. Not just because of what she did, but because it was her. The woman who raised me, who promised to protect me, who I loved with all my heart. I was broken, lost, betrayed in the worst way possible. But here's what no one tells you about betrayal. It can either be the end of your story or the beginning of a new chapter. And I chose the latter. In the darkest moments when I felt like giving up, I found a fire inside me. A determination to not just survive, but to rise stronger, wiser, and more unstoppable than ever before. Revenge became more than just justice. It became my rebirth. The day I uncovered the truth, everything around me blurred into a haze of disbelief and pain. My mother, the person I trusted most, was not the woman I thought she was. She had been hiding debts, lies about our family finances, and worst of all, a secret relationship that threatened to dismantle everything we'd built. The betrayal wasn't just emotional, it was financial, legal, and utterly devastating. I remember sitting in my living room, phone in hand, staring at messages that revealed her deception. Every word was like a dagger twisting in my heart. For a long time, I struggled to make sense of it all. How could someone so close, so dear, cause so much damage? The weight of shame, anger, and confusion crushed me. But beneath the pain, a voice whispered louder each day that I was stronger than this, that I could fight back. I began by taking control where I could. I met with lawyers to understand my options. I worked late nights to stabilize my finances, determined not to let her mistakes ruin my future. I confronted her not with blind fury, but with hard questions and the evidence I had gathered. Her face betrayed a flicker of guilt, but there were no apologies, only deflections and cold silence. That moment solidified something inside me. This was no longer just a personal betrayal. It was a battle for my life and my dignity. Revenge, I realized, wasn't about cruelty. It was about reclaiming what was mine, my peace, my identity, my future. I started documenting everything meticulously, every lie, every financial misstep, every hidden transaction. I surrounded myself with trusted friends who reminded me of my worth when I doubted it. I sought therapy to heal the emotional wounds that ran deeper than I could have imagined. Through it all, I learned invaluable lessons that I want to share with anyone who might be listening and facing betrayal of their own. First, trust your instincts. If something feels off, investigate, don't bury your doubts. Second, Protect yourself legally and financially. Knowledge is power. Third, surround yourself with people who uplift you, not those who feed your doubts or gaslight you. And finally, never underestimate the power of forgiveness, not for them, but for you. My revenge wasn't about breaking my mother down. It was about building myself up. I fought hard, legally and emotionally, to secure my future and protect my family from further harm. And slowly, piece by piece, I rebuilt the life that had nearly been stolen from me. The path to reclaiming my life was anything but easy. Every step forward felt like climbing a mountain, heavy with the weight of betrayal and doubt. There were days when the wounds felt too fresh, when the memories threatened to drown me in sorrow. But I kept reminding myself, healing is not linear. It's a journey filled with setbacks, moments of despair, but also incredible growth. One of the hardest parts was rebuilding trust, not just in others, but in myself. When someone who was supposed to love you betrays you, it shakes your foundation. You start questioning everything, your judgment, your worth, even your ability to love again. But through therapy and honest conversations with friends, I began to understand something profound. The betrayal wasn't a reflection of my value. It was a reflection of their flaws. I had been blinded by love and loyalty, but now I was learning to love and trust myself first. During this time, I also discovered the power of setting boundaries. I learned to say no to toxic influences, to protect my peace fiercely. This wasn't about shutting people out. It was about creating a space where I could heal and grow. And grow I did. I threw myself into work, rediscovering passions that had long been buried under the weight of family drama. I connected with support groups of women who had faced similar betrayals. Their stories became my strength, their victories my motivation. One of the most transformative moments came when I realized that revenge didn't have to be about punishment or bitterness. It could be about transformation and empowerment. I channeled my pain into building a new life, one where I was the author, the hero, and the survivor. I confronted my mother one last time, not with anger, but with calm and clarity. I told her I was done living in the shadow of her betrayal, that I was reclaiming my life on my terms. Her silence spoke volumes. From that day forward, I focused on what truly mattered: my healing, my family, and my future. If you're watching this, hurt and betrayed, I want you to know your pain is valid, your strength is real, and your story isn't over. You have the power to rise, to rebuild, and to thrive, because sometimes the greatest revenge isn't about breaking others, it's about becoming unbreakable yourself. There were moments in those early days when the weight of everything felt unbearable. I'd lie awake at night, replaying every conversation, every smile, every moment I'd shared with my mother, wondering where it had all gone wrong. The betrayal wasn't just a single event. It was a slow, creeping poison that ate away at my sense of security and self-worth. But then I began to see the cracks in the facade she'd built, the lies, the hidden debts, the manipulations, and I realized something crucial. Her betrayal was not a reflection of who I was. It was about her choices, her weaknesses, and her own struggles that she never faced openly. I made a conscious decision to stop blaming myself, to stop letting her actions define my worth, and in that decision I found the first spark of freedom. I started taking control, one small step at a time. I created a detailed plan to untangle the mess she left behind, from securing my finances to setting legal boundaries. I surrounded myself with people who believed in me, who lifted me up when I couldn't stand on my own. I sought therapy not just to heal, but to rebuild the foundation of trust within myself. I learned to listen to my instincts again, to trust my voice, and to honor my feelings without guilt. Every day was a battle, but I was determined to win, not for revenge's sake, but to reclaim my life and peace. As time passed, I realized that revenge didn't have to be an act of destruction. True revenge was about transformation. It was about rising from the ashes stronger, wiser, and more resilient than ever before. I found new passions: writing, volunteering, connecting with others who had faced betrayal. Sharing my story became a way to heal, to help, and to inspire. Eventually, I confronted my mother one last time. This time I was calm and clear. I told her that I was done living in her shadow, that I was reclaiming my life on my own terms. She had her choices, I had mine. Her silence was her answer. Now when I look back, I don't see myself as a victim of betrayal. I see a survivor who refused to be broken. If you're watching this, feeling lost and betrayed, know this: your pain is valid, your strength is real, and your story is far from over. You have the power to rise, to rebuild, to thrive. The greatest revenge of all is to become unbreakable. There were times when the road to healing felt endless, when the shadows of doubt crept in, whispering that maybe I wasn't strong enough, that maybe the betrayal had won. But every time those whispers came, I chose to fight back. I reminded myself that strength isn't about never falling. It's about rising every single time you do. And rise I did. I embraced every part of my journey, the pain, the anger, the moments of despair, because they were proof of my humanity. They were the soil from which my resilience grew. I started setting new goals, ones that weren't defined by what I lost, but by who I wanted to become. I focused on my career, rediscovered hobbies that brought me joy, and nurtured relationships that lifted me higher. Surrounding myself with positivity became my sanctuary. I found support groups where women shared stories just like mine, stories of betrayal, heartbreak, and eventual triumph. Their courage fueled my own. And slowly, the woman who once felt shattered began to piece herself back together. One of the most powerful lessons I learned was forgiveness, not to excuse what was done to me, but to free myself from the chains of bitterness. Forgiving my mother and myself became a turning point. It didn't mean forgetting or pretending it didn't hurt. It meant choosing peace over pain, growth over grudges. With forgiveness came freedom, and with freedom came the strength to live fully again. Today, I stand proud, not because the betrayal didn't hurt, but because I chose to rise above it. If you're going through something similar, remember this: you are not alone. You are not broken beyond repair. You have the strength to reclaim your life and rewrite your story. Revenge doesn't have to be about tearing others down. Sometimes the greatest revenge is to live a life so full of love, joy, and purpose that no betrayal can touch it. Your future is waiting, unbreakable, unstoppable, and entirely yours. The journey of reclaiming my life taught me one undeniable truth: strength is not just about endurance, it's about transformation. Every time I faced a setback, I reminded myself that pain is temporary, but growth lasts forever. I learned to embrace vulnerability as a form of courage, realizing that showing weakness doesn't make you less strong. It makes you human. In the months that followed, I focused on building a future that was mine alone. I invested in my dreams, nurtured new friendships, and prioritized my well-being like never before. I found solace in small moments: a morning walk under the sun, a heartfelt conversation with a friend, the satisfaction of achieving a long-held goal. These little victories were the bricks that rebuilt the foundation of my life, and as I healed, I found a new purpose: to help others who were trapped in the same shadows of betrayal and loss. I started sharing my story openly, speaking at support groups and online communities, hoping to be a beacon of hope for those lost in their own storms. Through this, I discovered that healing is contagious when you choose to rise. You inspire others to do the same. I also learned that revenge doesn't always come in dramatic confrontations or calculated plans. Sometimes it's as simple as waking up every day and choosing to live fully despite the pain. Revenge can be quiet and powerful, the act of living a joyful, authentic life that no one can take away. If there's one message I want you to take away from my story, it's this: your past doesn't define you. Your pain doesn't control you. You have the power to write your own future. Betrayal may have tried to steal my life, but I fought back with resilience, courage, and love, and I won. And so will you. The deeper I delved into healing, the more I realized that betrayal is a kind of death. A death of trust, of innocence, of what we believed to be unbreakable. But from death comes rebirth. From the ashes of betrayal, I began to build a new identity, stronger and more authentic than before. It wasn't just about reclaiming what was lost. It was about discovering who I truly was without the masks I'd worn for so long. The woman I had been, the woman I was now becoming, and the woman I would be in the future. Each version shaped by the battles I fought and the wounds I healed. I learned to listen deeply to my own needs and desires, to honor my boundaries without guilt, and to trust my intuition above all else. The experience taught me the value of self-respect, something I had taken for granted before. At times I confronted painful memories and emotions head-on, refusing to bury them under distractions or denial. Facing them was terrifying, but necessary. It was in those moments that I reclaimed my power. I surrounded myself with a community of warriors, people who had survived their own storms and emerged stronger. Their stories inspired me and gave me strength on the days when I faltered. The truth I embraced was this: healing is not a destination but a lifelong journey. Each day offers a choice. To move forward or be held back by the past, I chose forward. Along the way, I discovered passions and dreams that had been dormant for years. I took classes, pursued new hobbies, and volunteered to help others who had faced similar pain. Helping others heal became a source of joy and purpose I never expected. My relationship with my mother changed forever. Though the betrayal created a chasm too wide to bridge, I no longer carried anger or bitterness that weighed me down. I accepted the limits of our relationship and focused on cultivating love and peace within myself. Every scar, every tear, every sleepless night became a testament to my resilience. And here's the most important lesson I learned. The greatest revenge isn't in revenge itself. It's in living a life so rich, so full of meaning and joy, that no one can ever take that away from you again. If you are listening, hurting, doubting, remember that your story is still being written. You have the power to rise from the ashes, to turn your pain into purpose, and to create a future where betrayal no longer has power over you. Hold on to that hope, fight for it, because your best days are still ahead. As I stand here today, reflecting on the journey that almost broke me, I want you to hear this with every fiber of your being. You are not your pain. You are the fierce, unstoppable force that rises when the world tries to tear you down. I've learned that true strength doesn't come from avoiding heartbreak or betrayal. It comes from facing it head-on and refusing to be defeated. It comes from choosing yourself when others have chosen to betray you. If there's one message I want to leave with you, it's this: your power lies in your response. You can let betrayal destroy you, or you can let it define the woman you become. You can stay stuck in the shadows of the past, or you can step boldly into the light of your future. And no matter how dark the night, the dawn always comes. Revenge, real revenge, isn't about tearing others down. It's about building yourself up higher, stronger, and more radiant than ever before. You are the author of your story, the hero of your journey, and the next chapter. It's yours to write. So rise, heal, thrive, and show the world that no betrayal can break a soul that refuses to be broken. Thank you for listening to my story. If it has touched you, inspired you, or given you hope, please share it, because sometimes the greatest healing begins with knowing you're not alone. Your story is still being written, and I believe with all my heart that your best chapters are yet to come.